Hi class, welcome to IS 371. I'm Professor Fahmi Jalani. Today we'll be taking a look at Chapter 6, which is IT Security Policy and Framework. We will take a look at the building blocks, the documents, the ISS, or IA in consideration, and also consideration for creating the need for creating a security policy framework. So what is it IT policy framework? This is basically a framework that include policy, standard, the baseline, procedure, guidelines and taxonomy. Majority of them resemble as a tree or hierarchy, and there is often a need for risk and appetite or risk tolerance. In this case, how much risk does the company or organization willing to accept, and what's the variance, the tolerance level. Okay, how bad the system could be when something happen, and what's the acceptance level, for example. So let's take a look at this framework as we mentioned. This is basically the next diagram shows a tree diagram, top bottom. So on the top we have what's the policy, glossary or taxonomy. The second level we have the policy, which equals the risk assessment, physical security and access control. Okay, and the third level we have the guidelines, which is the control standard. Fourth is the baseline, and last is the procedure. Okay, this is basically how a general organization security system or framework will look like. And next we take a look at the moving along the charting risk appetite. So we mentioned earlier, so this is basically a graph, impact versus frequency, and in the middle we have manageable, and as the frequency and the impact increase, that's where the unacceptable level is, as compared to acceptable level, which is down below. So what is a program framework policy or charter? This is basically is the topmost is high level policy, and usually the organization will define the mission or the purpose and the scope, okay, responsibility, how to implement it, and compliance management, which we'll take a look in detail. So in purpose we have what's the purpose of the program, in this case implementing a security policy. So next followed by what's the scope that they cover, okay, in terms of, for example, if there's a breach of user data, for example, in target, for example, who are the responsibility personnel, for example, department, okay, compliance, how to address the policy, okay. So in the previous class we did mention about the different type of international standard. For example, we have ISO or International Security Standard. Here we have IEC 27002. This was implemented in 2015. IEC 30105, ISO 27007, and NIST Special Publication 800-53. So what is a policy? So basically, it's a high-level statement of belief and goal, and it helps to protect the organization, the company itself. Also, basically, it's a what and why security measure. Yeah. So it's technically a backup plan in event if something happens. And basically, the policy describe in detail what you do if something happens, and day-to-day operation, training, awareness, okay, compliance, and how it's handled. So on top of that, what are standard? Basically, they are basically formal document pertaining to the policy. Okay, these are basically should be communicated through all the department or user in uniform. Okay, so that you can measure and evaluate. Okay, how to accomplish goal, method, and these standards are basically processes that are repeatable. Okay? And they sometimes are very specific, okay? To certain, for example, areas. Okay? In terms of, for example, when you have hacking or data breach or Trojan horse attack, for example, or even ransomware. And also they are also device focus, for example, on the system, on the device, on the server, for example. Okay. Followed by that is procedure. Procedure basically they are technically instruction, what to comply, and what the action to take. Okay. It support the policy and the standard. Okay. For example, incident report, server configuration, emergency evacuation. Okay, those are basically procedures. Okay. Some details should be clear, unambiguous, repeatable, up to date, tested, and documented. And also it need to be audited actually. So followed by procedure, we have guidelines. Okay, guidelines are basically to assist people in developing the process or procedure. In this case, best practice. You can clarify issues, problems, okay, after publication of the standard. Okay, not all the standards are correct, so we need to be relevant or to the time. And basically they are very detailed. Okay. Sometimes it's optional to have it in a library, for example, a database, okay, where people could access it. And these are basically widely acceptable, okay, in terms of guidelines. So in a business consideration, okay, for framework, you need to take a look at a few things, which one of it very importantly is cost. Okay, cost is one of the most important factor in terms of implementing and maintaining framework, and what's the impact, okay, on employees, customer, and also the processes. So next, you take a look at the roles for the policy development. So again, we have CISO, which is a Chief Information Security Officer. His job is basically to establish, maintain, the IS. Okay, the manager basically is to maintain the policy and procedure. The security officer is responsible for the direct policy of the procedure, and also lastly by the owner. They are basically responsible for carrying out the program. Moving along, we have also custodian. These are basically technical facility, data processing, okay, other support owners, mainframe for example. Okay. Who are the owners? Usually the IT department. Also we have the manager, technical manager. Okay. They need to support security, and also internal auditors, where they do conduct periodic auditing, control partners, ensure that policy compliance, and lastly we have the user. Some of the important points into consideration for IA, it needs to be confidentiality, integrity and availability. Okay. For example, data need to be kept secretly, okay, and available to the user without any compromise. So let's take a look at some of the best practice for IT security. So when a company or organization plans to implement, there needs to be transparency, and everybody needs to be informed. For example, could be presentation, email, okay, posters, for example. And also it needs to be clear, because some of the jargons, some users are not exposed to the IT environment, security for example. Also states your principle, basically what framework must be achieved, okay, what do you want after this, and how to get it, okay, and who are the owners, okay, while implementing achieving this goal. Okay. So let's take a look at some case study and some example. So the first one, we have the private sector, in this case Alberta Health Services. Here they establish a policy and framework, okay, and also they went beyond approval, and also they managed to implement it. Okay. Another example, private sector, University of Huddersfield in England. Okay, they establish a policy. Okay, they publish the policy, and they inform was to the policy owner, and consulted the subject matter expert, and also managed to approve it. Next, we have public sector, state of Tennessee. They implemented the ISO standard, okay, basically for the state of Tennessee, and to implement the policy and framework, and also the how to control, okay. And lastly is the private sector 3, which is Target Corporation, which is quite a very famous story about if you all know the Target supermarket in 2013, the point of sale, which is basically the cash machine, data breach, 40 million credit cards were stolen, 70 million record containing P2. This is basically one of the largest breach. Clearly show there's quite a fault in the security, right? So something to take a look. So pretty much we have covered the security framework for today. If you have any question, feel free to email me. Thanks. Bye bye.